There is a law that governs the invisible forces of success, a law so subtle, so quietly influential, that few ever come to understand its true potency. It is the law of silence. In a world addicted to noise, chatter, and premature celebration, the individual who chooses silence holds a rare and commanding power, not the silence of weakness or avoidance, but the silence of inner command, discipline, and mastery. True power is never found in loud declarations. It is not measured by how much you reveal to the world, but how much you reserve within yourself. When the seed is planted beneath the soil, there is no trumpet sound. The roots form quietly in darkness before the sprout breaks through. Similarly, every great vision must first be nurtured in the private chambers of the mind and spirit before it becomes visible to others. Silence is the incubator of greatness. In silence, the mind is not distracted by the opinions of the crowd. It is in silence that faith is forged, not as an emotional hope, but as a deliberate belief backed by personal discipline. The wise understand this. They do not rush to expose their dreams to the world. They understand that energy, like water, must be contained to gather pressure, and pressure, when rightly directed, becomes the force that moves mountains. Consider the individual who speaks constantly of their plans, their ambitions, their future success. More often than not, they are seeking validation rather than building foundation. Words become their escape rather than their affirmation. Each time they explain themselves to someone who does not understand, they lose a little power. Each time they seek applause for an idea not yet acted upon, they trade potential for praise. The truly powerful resist this temptation. Silence is not passivity. It is strategy. When a mind is truly focused, when it has burned a purpose so deeply into the subconscious, it no longer requires external agreement. It no longer needs the world to nod in approval. It becomes self-sufficient, drawing its fuel from clarity, not applause. Even nature teaches this principle. The eagle flies alone. The lion does not announce its hunt. The seasons shift without ceremony. So too must a person of power learn to move with quiet intent, undistracted by commentary, undisturbed by judgment. Let others talk. Let others speculate. You are not here to prove your worth with your words. You are here to make your results undeniable. When you guard your vision with silence, you are not hiding out of fear. You are protecting it from interference. Every spoken word is a vibration, a release of energy, and not all ears that listen do so with goodwill. Some listen to compete, others to confuse, and many to criticize. Why offer your vision to unworthy hands? Why pour your sacred goals into vessels that cannot contain belief? There is a sacred power in secrecy. It allows time to mature your idea, to test it, to refine it without distortion. The alchemist does not share his formula until it has turned to gold. The builder does not invite the crowd until the structure is sound. So too must you keep the scaffolding of your success hidden until it stands on its own. Do not mistake this philosophy for isolation. It is not the absence of communication, but the mastery of it. Speak only when speaking serves your purpose. Share only when sharing strengthens your position. Reveal only what is complete, and keep your inner laboratory sealed until the time for unveiling has arrived. Your silence builds your magnetism. When you speak less, your words carry more weight. When you act without explanation, your actions draw curiosity, and curiosity, when paired with mystery, creates influence. Those who understand this principle rise above the noise of the world. They become figures of power, not because they dominate conversations, but because they move with a presence that requires no explanation. There is another reason silence is so vital. It cultivates inner alignment. When you stop explaining your vision to others, you start explaining it to yourself. You begin to refine it. You test it. You improve it. And most of all, you commit to it. When no one else is watching, when no one else is clapping, when no one else is asking you what comes next, you must choose to believe. That belief becomes the foundation upon which mountains are built. In silence, your thoughts are no longer diluted by external expectations. You can visualize with clarity, you can affirm with certainty, and those affirmations take root in fertile soil, because you are no longer speaking them into the winds of public opinion, but into the quiet chambers of your own subconscious. And the subconscious, when fed with clarity, belief and repetition, responds by rewriting the very fabric of your reality. To protect your power is to preserve your energy, and to preserve your energy, you must manage your words. Every word is an investment, every sentence a signature, every conversation a transaction. Ask yourself, are you gaining or losing power with each exchange? Are your words strengthening your inner fire, or scattering it to the wind? The wisest individuals in history shared a common trait. They understood the value of restraint. They did not fear silence, they mastered it. They knew that the man who says little but does much commands more than the man who says much and does little. They did not reveal their moves, they revealed their results, and by doing so they made their influence inevitable. There exists a tragic misunderstanding among the masses, a belief that to be powerful is to be loud, expressive and constantly seen. In this age of relentless exposure and instant validation, many have forgotten the age-old principle that true strength is never flamboyant. It does not parade itself before the crowd. It walks with quiet certainty, carrying an invisible authority that does not beg to be recognized. Reserve is not timidity. It is not shyness or fear. Reserve is deliberate control. It is the armor of the wise, the tool of those who understand the value of mystery, the strategy of those who have seen what happens when power is given away too freely. The greatest minds in history did not ascend by speaking recklessly. They rose by choosing their words with surgical precision. Their silence was not absence. It was presence refined. To withhold is to wield. To pause before you speak is to dominate the space with intention. The weak must speak to be noticed. The strong command attention without uttering a single word. This is not philosophical sentiment. It is observable law. A room often grows silent when the truly powerful enter, not because of noise, but because of energy. Reserve projects confidence. It signals that there is more than meets the eye, and people always respect what they cannot fully read. The human mind is designed to be drawn to contrast. What is rare becomes valuable. What is quiet in a sea of noise becomes magnetic. And so those who master reserve create a gravitational field around them. Others lean in, not because they are told to, but because curiosity compels them. In contrast, those who constantly speak of their greatness, who explain every action, every ambition, often repel rather than attract. The energy they emit is one of need, not power. In moments of silence, the reserved man gathers. He builds, he calculates, he watches without being watched. He listens not to reply, but to understand the motives of others. And when he does speak, it is not from compulsion, but from command. His words are measured, deliberate, and therefore unforgettable. What he withholds creates anticipation. What he finally reveals is met with gravity. Many believe that openness leads to connection, and in many cases, this is true. But there is a line, fine yet crucial, between connection and compromise. When you reveal too much of yourself to too many, you dilute your identity. You allow the world to shape your vision before it is fully formed. You surrender control of your narrative, and those who do not control their own narrative rarely reach the heights of influence they once imagined. Reserve guards the soul from unnecessary warfare. When you speak less, you avoid traps. You avoid premature commitments. You avoid engaging in battles that do not serve your destiny. The man of reserve is not indifferent. He is selective. He understands that not every conversation deserves his thoughts. Not every disagreement requires a rebuttal. Not every moment demands a performance. Strength is knowing when to act, but also when to wait. It is the discipline of timing, the art of restraint. There is great spiritual force in withholding. When you do not allow others to read your every emotion, your every intention. You maintain a form of control that cannot be taken from you. They can guess, they can assume, but they cannot define you. That is power. The one who cannot be defined cannot be confined. Those who walk the path of self-mastery learn to treasure their reserve as their most valuable possession. They reveal little, not because they have little to offer, but because they know the cost of premature exposure. An idea spoken too early can be killed by criticism. A dream shared with the wrong ears can be poisoned by doubt. A plan revealed too soon can be sabotaged by envy. And so they protect what matters most, not with walls of fear, but with gates of discipline. The world often mistakes reserve for weakness because it sees only the surface, but what the world sees is rarely the full truth. A calm surface may conceal the deepest strength. A quiet presence may mask a mind sharper than steel, and a man who speaks little may be the one who moves mountains with a whisper. True leaders lead not with volume, but with vision. Vision so focused it needs no defense. To cultivate reserve is to respect your own power. It is to acknowledge that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your goals, or your soul. You become a guardian of your own potential, refusing to squander it on those who cannot understand it or respect it. This is not arrogance, it is discernment. It is the realization that energy is currency, and every word you speak spends it. The wise man does not spend lavishly, he invests. The path to greatness is not illuminated by noise. It is lit by intention, clarity, and precision. Those who reserve their energy for the right battles, the right opportunities, and the right people build their empires on solid ground, while others exhaust themselves trying to be seen. The reserved rise through results, not noise. Their silence is not absence, it is preparation. Their quietude is not fear, it is force waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In every moment you are either gaining power or giving it away. This is not a metaphor, but a principle deeply woven into the fabric of life itself. Wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. And wherever your energy flows, your results begin to take form. Most individuals walk through life unaware that their focus is a currency more valuable than gold. They spend it carelessly, distracted by noise, consumed by trivial pursuits, and entangled in the desires and opinions of others. Attention is the gatekeeper of creation. Whatever you give sustained focus to becomes energized. Whether that focus is directed toward growth or fear, discipline or doubt, vision or vanity, it does not matter. The law does not discriminate, it only amplifies. Your results, your reality, and your personal power are nothing more than reflections of how well you have guarded your attention and how wisely you have spent your energy. Those who rise to greatness learn this truth early, whether by instinct or experience. They do not allow their attention to be hijacked by gossip, distraction, or unnecessary exposure. They know that energy is not infinite. It is a sacred resource, and it must be allocated with purpose. Every conversation, every environment, every emotional reaction is a transaction. The wise are always aware of what they are buying and what they are losing with each one. It is no accident that the most focused individuals are also the most powerful. They understand the silent war that is always being waged over their attention. The world competes for it, through screens, through noise, through urgency disguised as importance. But the truly powerful man does not react to everything that calls his name. He trains himself to become unbothered by the insignificant. He refuses to lend energy to battles that do not align with his purpose. To guard your attention is to govern your future. It means choosing your thoughts as carefully as you would choose your business partners. It means refusing to think about problems that are not yours to solve. It means no longer explaining your vision to those who lack the depth to understand it. Every time you do, you dilute your force. Every time you speak to be understood by someone who has not earned access to your truth, you lose a piece of your momentum. Energy is magnetic. When properly directed, it creates a field that draws the right people, the right ideas, the right opportunities, but when scattered, it attracts confusion, resistance, and mediocrity. This is why it is dangerous to expose your vision too soon. When others see it before it has roots, they project their doubts onto it, and if your foundation is not strong enough, you will begin to absorb those doubts, mistaking them for wisdom. The result is hesitation, and hesitation kills more dreams than failure ever will. The act of guarding your energy is an act of self-respect. It is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming conscious. Conscious of where your time goes, of who has access to your mental space, of how much of your life is being lived for reaction instead of intention. When you are conscious, you do not give energy to criticism from those who have built nothing. You do not hand over your peace to someone else's opinion. You rise above the noise, not because you are better, but because you are busier building something that demands your full attention. Discipline is the shield that protects your energy, and clarity is the sword that cuts through distraction. When you know who you are, and more importantly, who you are becoming, it becomes easier to say no, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You no longer move out of guilt or fear of missing out. You move because your movement is intentional, fueled by a vision that is greater than your need to be understood. There is also a hidden power in withholding your attention from drama and disorder. What you do not feed cannot grow. Ignore the distractions long enough, and they begin to wither. Refuse to engage in fruitless conflict, and you remove its power. Redirect your focus from what drains you to what drives you, and you change the entire rhythm of your life. Your days begin to work for you. Your results begin to accelerate. What once seemed chaotic becomes calm, not because the world has changed, but because your energy has been reclaimed. Most people do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they allow too many leaks in their focus. They become emotionally entangled with people and problems that have no relevance to their destiny. They speak to everyone and listen to everything. In doing so, they weaken the signal of their own voice. The world begins to define them, and their power begins to erode. The moment you decide to protect your attention as fiercely as your wealth, you begin to understand the nature of influence. Guarding your energy is not a tactic, it is a way of life. It begins with boundaries. It is sustained through repetition, and it is amplified through solitude. In solitude, you reconnect with your original intention. You silence the voices of doubt that come not only from others, but from within. You remember that you are not here to entertain, to explain, or to impress. You are here to express, to create, and to conquer.